you can hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? Okay. We will call our city commission meeting to order at 7:01 p.m., April 7th, 2024. We got a relatively full board tonight, so we do have a quorum. Let's start off with our pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First off, thanks for being here, guys. It's been awfully quiet, awfully lonely the last few weeks, months. I don't know how many meetings it's been that we just haven't had anybody here. So thanks for being here. It definitely makes it more fun and comfortable for us. Okay, first up, we've got our minutes for March 17th, 2025, and then March 27th, 2025. The 17th was a regular meeting, 27th was a special commission meeting. I trust all you guys have had a chance to look over the minutes, and Kyle, I believe you have a modification that we need to make.
Yeah, I do. So while I was reading the minutes, under line item 10, there's a sentence in there stating, Ralston made a motion to table the proposal on the next commission meeting, second by Guy, roll call and all that. That actually needs to be under line item number 5 with the iteration of the water treatment. So that's the only correction that I found. As far as the special commission meeting, those minutes are correct.
All right, anything else, guys? So we'll need a motion to approve the minutes with those modifications.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the minutes with the modification.
I'll second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes with modifications.
Yes.
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 Okay, motion carries. All right, commissioners report. Kyle, you're up.
So we've been pretty busy with Dan, with the tree committee. We've been putting the application together with that. It's just about completed. We'll be sending that off either today or tomorrow or the next day, to Joel with, Northwood Tree Service for him to review it.
It's there.
It is there. Okay, so he's reviewing it right now. And then you'll send it back with any corrections you need to make on that. That's pertaining to the trees that are hopefully going to the north of the dam area. Had a meeting with Moore Engineering in regards to some water drainage on 67th Street with legal with ordinances, stuff like that. And what else? Something else, but nothing too important. Okay.
I'll keep mine short. Yes, after many months of trying to fill that auditor spot, you were here a few minutes ago, you seen that we finally have it filled. So welcome, Wendy. Happy to have you. All I got.
Right now on the water side, we are working to get the lagoon ready for the project this summer. There's quite a few different things we need to get done in preparation, so when the company does come, they're able to do their job. But right now, that's about all I had.
All right, and for me, I know our agenda is already awfully long, but there is some things I would like to add rather than just going through just some commissioners report. Hopefully we can just talk about it during the regular agenda portion. So I will spare you the narrative and the preface of what we want to talk about or what we are going to talk about. You go that route. All right, speaking of modifications or approval of agenda. Couple of things I would like to add, if it's all right with you guys. One being gopher eradication. We have some interest in some skilled marksmen, sharpshooters that would like to help us out with our gopher propagation. And then second would be, I've been putting in some time trying to find a software or a service to streamline our payroll and our new hire experience. Third-party services, that is their jam, that's what they do. So I've got quotes, I gave them to you guys earlier, it's an awfully long read, I'm not saying we need to make a move tonight, but it's something that we should be considering long-term. And then third, we need to advertise for patrol officer. So if all three of those things are good, we'll go for eradication 13, ADP proposal 14, and advertisement of the patrol officer at 15.
Well, I'll move to approve the agenda with those modifications.
I second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the modified agenda. Any more discussion on that? Is there anything else you guys would like to add? Okay, we'll move to a vote.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Old business, Liz, we got Liz.
Good afternoon, evening, I suppose, actually. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. I can hear you all too. I'm going to try to follow suit here and be somewhat brief this evening. The agenda is rather full. Just a couple of highlights where certainly if you require my participation or assistance on those topics, I'm definitely prepared and I suppose spooled up to a degree. I do note a couple items. We do have the editor-in-chief of the Journal present. I recognize her even from a distance on Zoom here. Annually, I don't know how well the public tracks that. Some of them probably pretty well, some of them not at all. We generally engage in discussions each and every year in approximately April for resolutions in May regarding the designation of an official paper for the city of Tioga. Several years ago, that changed. Suffice it to say, I think there's been some change at a minimum. One could say cessation in local reporting and local advertising. So I did want to thank Cecile Weirman for being here tonight. And you're even here in person, Cecile. So that's lovely and thank you. I also have had recently, and I'll let Josh share those to the degree that they're appropriate. I've had some recent conversations with both Brett and Josh at Moore Engineering. I don't expect the vast majority of those more recent conversations to develop tonight, but the commission, you'll be updated in coming weeks, maybe months, I hope weeks, about some things we're trying to resolve that have recently come through the commission, which have required the attention of both the engineer and my office. So I guess that's kind of a heads up about subsequent discussions. I also will note that Miss Lenzen, our new auditor, is joining us. Congratulations, Wendy. Welcome to the ship. I'm very excited to have you aboard. And so I wish I were there in person to tell you that, but I wholeheartedly mean it from a distance. And we are genuinely excited to have filled that spot and to have you with us. So congratulations and much luck. And I'll be looking forward to working with you. And at new business item number 6, I better say just the opposite. I'm aware that we've received the resignation of Commissioner Sandberg. I've worked with Jess for years. I have enjoyed very much working with Jess. We've been through some real storms together. And that, of course, the commission has yet to accept her resignation. I understand that's a formality that you all will have to approach. But I did want to give my 2 cents in saying that I appreciate the many, many hours and frankly, years that Jess has poured into the city very selflessly. And so I will miss her as much as I'm excited to bring Wendy aboard. And I just wanted to throw that out there. I really appreciated her participation. There are some other matters that appear throughout the agenda. I think there are points where it may be possible that you require my attention. I'm not going to sit here with my video on, but I promise I'm sitting here with my audio on. So if you need me, just hoot, and I will climb back on to answer any questions or assist as may be needed. And that's all I have for my spot for now.
Okay, thanks, those guys. You have any questions for those? Okay. All right, moving on, engineering report, Josh, you're up.
Thank you. Good evening. Brief agenda for me this evening. Kyle already mentioned the meeting we had with Dan. Dan also participated, kind of reviewing the stormwater management ordinance. We had provided some comments and suggested revisions on that. We kind of walked through everything there. I guess going forward, kind of the next step, I guess, I would imagine would be sending it on to Liz for her review from a legal standpoint, and then, you know, potentially some revisions from that standpoint, and then we can move towards review by the full commission and hopefully approval at that moment. Does that sound appropriate on you guys then?
Yeah.
Okay. I will, I'll pass that along to you, Liz, and we can, circle back on that, when we have some time, so.
Sounds perfect.
Next item this evening is the, softball field relocation, the Clomer. So we did hear back, received some comments from the reviewer on that. We do have a meeting scheduled with them for the 10th, on Thursday here, to kind of run through their comments and, kind of circle back with them to see, make sure we're addressing comments and additional documentation you're requesting there. So at that point, we'll kind of check in with them to what their expected time frame is, and we'll prioritize things as much. Get everything submitted and packaged back up for them, and kind of go from there with that. So with that, that's pretty well I have for updates on mine.
So they're not gonna have a decision on the 10th.
I don't anticipate a decision on it at that point. There's some additional documentation they requested, so we're working on some of those items as we speak, and then we'll get some clarification from them on the 10th and kind of proceed from there.
Quite unfortunate. And last 3 times we talked about this, it was, we were hoping to get a decision on the 9th, so we break down on that. Is there anything we can do to expedite that?
I'll ask them that, you know, it's dealing with that, so it's actually I'm gonna say a contractor, but a consultant, to FEMA. That's working on it, so they may not be able to provide us exactly that answer, but, we can. If there's any options to expedite things on that.
Guys, questions for Josh?
Should the commission keep in mind possibly a different location if it doesn't go through?
I guess at this point, I don't think that there's a, you know, from what their review comments were, I don't think it's gonna be approved, or, you know, that there's a concern of it necessarily being approved, but they just have some comments to address on it. Moving it to a different location, I think that's kind of been thrown out there before. There's a different location in mind. I mean, that could be potentially quicker. You know, if it's a site that wouldn't have to deal with these types of permitting and things like that, so.
So I guess, Josh, I have a practicalist question, because I know we have folks coming to speak about the softball field, and I know that Clomer is tying things up from a regulatory standpoint, and I understand that's a federal approval. That's certainly not Moore Engineering who makes those decisions. But if you're reasonably confident that they are going to approve the proposal, I mean, am I understanding that correctly? Are we reasonably certain that they're going to approve that proposal?
Yeah, I definitely, reasonably confident they will approve it, but the time frame was kind of unknown, at this point.
Yep. No, and I understand that. I guess I was kind of leading you there because I have a question for you and I think you'll have to pass it on to them. Sometimes, and I don't know this in that context, but sometimes there may be a regulation perhaps where, and I don't know how it works in a Clomer, but maybe if we articulate to whatever consultant for FEMA is responsible for dragging feet here, is there some kind of exception or limited permit? Is there some kind of regulation noting their delay, because it is their delay, that would allow us to continue on with our community-based activities, which we've had planned for a very long time and been asking them to approve? Can you ask them that? And you can
Yep.
blame me. If it sounds at all snarky, you can quote me, because we have been waiting an awfully long time. And so, we get that they have regulations, but we also understand that we have community members who are going to suffer if those regulations are delayed in their implementation. So if you could ask that and copy Brent and I even when you ask that, I think that might be helpful.
Yep, absolutely can that question.
Yeah, and you can blame me too, but I've been hounding you since it was 40 below and the frost was 8 foot deep. Like, So there was a lower before the Clomer, right?
No, the Lomer will come after it's built. That'll have to be filed.
When did this whole process with the Clomer start?
The Clomer would have started back in January. That was when, and it would have been December timeframe that we got the indication from the state that they were recommending to go forward with the Clomer. And that, we got, and the initial submittal was made to the state, for their approval, and they required some additional information, that was provided to them, and then after their review of that, they recommended going forward with the Clomer. So it's kind of been some back and forth, working through that process.
January of 25, right?
Correct.
How did we do this, like the day they broke ground on the community center?
So I guess we started, working on development of the grading plan for the softball field in October, November of 23. And at that time, there's no indication, from discussions with the state, they were, of the opinion that if there wasn't any, net fill of material on the site, that they would approve it on their level. And then it's kind of been back and forth, and they've been kind of changing, I guess, their stance to some degree, as we work through it, so.
Well, just for the sake of staying efficient, I know we're gonna talk about this at least a couple more times tonight. I think that'll do it for me. Any questions? Unless you guys have anything to know.
Excellent. Thank you.
Right, well, business number 3, Tioga Community Center. Come on.
Hello. So Dan and I are here tonight to talk about some potential landscape around the skating rink and possibly along the new west wall and Highway 40 and our east parking lot area. But before I dive into that, I kind of want to put to bed or close out a PCO regarding potential building signage. This landscape would be in lieu of the signage. I'm comfortable moving forward without signage. It can always come later. We don't need it right away. They did have, I think it was just over 22,000 allocated for signage, so we don't use that. It essentially goes back into our budget. So if you guys are okay with closing that PCO on building and signage, I'm seeking approval for that.
Yeah, just a background, guys. These are just essentially metal letters that they plan on selling out like to every community center.
Mhm.
It is nothing fancy. It was a huge cost for metal letters.
What's the number of the PCO?
I think it was 26, 27.
They said you would have been quite a
Yeah.
ways before that.
Think so? I don't actually have the PCO in front of me. I can find out for you.
And 25 was electrical, yeah, and 26 was dishwasher.
I think that was 27.
Okay.
I guess I'd just make a motion that we close out the PCO for the lettering of the community center.
And I can email it over for signature too.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close out the PCO for the signage or lettering. Yeah, move to the vote.
Yes.
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 The motion carries, PCO closed.
Do I close one more while we're at it? Okay, so the things with as we've all heard many times, there was actually no dishwasher in the plans. We can finalize that and prove that. I received emails from EACC and FCI. So the whole plan was to leave it a void and just put a trash can under there. They will finish the cabinets at no expense to us. So at this point, that's the free option and what we wanted from the start. So if we could close that PCO, that would be wonderful.
I make a motion we close out the PCO for the dishwasher.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close out the PCO for the dishwasher. And move to a vote.
Yes.
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 Okay, motion carries.
Perfect. Thank you. Dan, you wanna come up? So Dan and I spent some time, not just him and I, but with the expansion committee, kind of going over the landscape options, where we put it, what we want, what makes sense, what doesn't. And we emailed over what options that we thought would look good, placed them out. Granted, this doesn't have to stay this way. You guys can pick and choose what you want if you don't prefer the design that we laid out. I know Kyle had some opinions on certain types of trees, and that's totally fine. You wanna cover anything else?
I think you're saying proposing.
Well, before I finally propose it, we had, I don't know, like 9, 10 different options. We also, would want to irrigate around the skating rink. The grass around there hasn't really been great, especially with the warming houses over there. And now that those old ones are moving, we definitely want to do something to make that look better. There is hydro seeding in the expansion budget already that they're taking care of. There is no irrigation or landscape on the contractor's end, and they would rather not be a part of those two items. So if we did do any potential landscape, or irrigation, the irrigation would need to be done before the hydro seeding. And we need to move the blue and green sheds before we can do any of that. And I do have people interested in those items that I had emailed you about last week.
We have a response on that too. So for Century Code, if the value is over $2,500, we need to go out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that conversation did come up when we purchased the green shed, the newer one, and because another city entity is wanting that shed, it was told to me that we would not use it today.
Right, I'm more worried about the blue one. So in my mind, it's worth negative $200.
Right.
$100, I think is boring,
Mm-hmm.
but we just need to verify that. Well, you guys know, we got our Board of Equalization meeting on Wednesday. People are just horrified about what assessments are, so. It wouldn't shock me if somebody thinks that there's value in that thing. We should probably make sure.
Sure, we can do that. So do you guys have the budget presented for the round?
Yep.
Okay, have you seen the layout design? Do you have any questions, concerns, thoughts?
Okay, thanks.
I guess I'm not opposed to some landscaping, but I guess the one concern I have is if we get some leafy trees, what are in the, proposal, that when they drop their leaves, they're gonna get blown or fall into the ice rink. And then summertime, we'll blow them out, sweep them out, but the summer, winter time, they're gonna be within the ice, and then we're not gonna have a great ice rink surface.
Sure.
So I think we need to kind of revisit the issue and get more shrub type, around the edge. Things like that, they're very big leafy, maintenance items. Just to, I mean, cause if we get big leafy trees, then we're gonna have to have more maintenance, more time, more effort. And it's just kind of snowball effect, so I think we need to kind of revisit, I'm not opposed to it, but, I think we need to revisit it and just get more of a shrub type looking, plants versus big leafy tall trees.
Right. One of the other factors is time. So I know you mentioned giving everybody time to kind of go over this and see what their thoughts were. If this were tabled, that pushes things back further, of course. And with hydro seeding needing to happen sooner than later, I don't know what that would do to the timeline.
Was our next meeting on the 21st?
Well, is it that big of a concern that we're gonna have leaves freezing into a rink that's already frozen? I mean, obviously it's gonna have to warm up, thaw a little bit, have them sort themselves in the surface water and then refreeze, but do we have any like ice maintenance equipment, like a mini Zamboni or anything?
No, we just have the toolcat that's got a water tank on the back that the guys use, and Tyler's been good about helping us too.
I asked, cause I've seen plans once upon a time that some Zamboni ran.
There was,
Big time.
yeah,
You got a Zamboni now.
no, we don't have an actual Zamboni coming.
Just a little clarification, I mean, certainly we can remove the tree, but the tree is considered a medium-sized tree, not a large tree. Maximum height is 35 to 40 feet, which seems tall, but large trees are 45 to, so just kind of one of the little thing there. Obviously balancing it off when we picked out that there was that concern for the leaves. We don't want to create more work than what we really need to, certainly. We could remove one of those linden trees from the northwest side, so that prevailing winds would not blow it into the rink, in the fall time. Or just remove those two trees and then we could put some other smaller shrub type, decorative, tree. Something that grows up to only 12 feet or 15 feet.
Guess I didn't get a chance to look at it. How many different rows of trees are there at the ice skating rink then?
There's a total of 20 trees, I think, or 22 trees. That includes evergreen trees along the Highway 40, along the property line there on the east side. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so there's about 7 or 8 trees around the ice skating rink. And when I say trees, they're smaller trees like what is it? Like the crab, thunderchild crab, for example. Snow crab. Those are just small 12-foot tall trees.
Have you had a chance to look at trees that would kind of along the signal road for like the softball field?
We haven't, well, we thought of it, but we didn't, we thought that possibly that could go under the tree committee type of project for grants. Or something like that. And we could certainly we're planning on putting 2 of these, flowering crab type of trees, 2 of them in the plan on both sides of the driveway approach, of the new approach on the west side. We could certainly put, 1 of those or 2 of those trees back where the lindens are by the rink, and then put the lindens further west.
Yeah, guys, I asked Dan if he could put together something for putting some taller trees that parallel Signal Road, which would be past the outfield fence. hopeful optimist, but I'm pretty sure summer, maybe all of our softball girls are gonna go yard next year, and I don't want that softball end up in the road, unless they get it free instead.
Another thing to consider, if the leafy trees are that big of a concern, they are the same cost as the spruce trees. We could swap them out for spruce trees or just do spruce trees around the rink. Those would help block wind as well. And snow.
I like that idea. I'm fine with that, because I think that's gonna be less trouble than the big leafy ones, so I'm good with that.
So, there's two quotes here. The first one is irrigation, which I think we should do regardless of if we do any landscape or not, just to help keep that grass growing and healthy. And that quote is 15,800. That includes adding a drip line to the west building where we would put those taller, like narrow pine trees, just to kind of draw the eye away from the big empty wall.
Can we make a decision tonight on the irrigation and maybe just
Sure.
table the trees till the next month? That way, that way we don't screw up, hydro seeding and whatnot.
We need to, it would be good to get this approved both. If we can, agree or, whatever on this, we can certainly exchange those two trees, linden trees out for two evergreen trees. Which would look, because instead of having two evergreens there now, there's four. And that would look great. That would look very good. And that's just a matter of, let's just prove that, and that's what we do. So then we can get the order in for the nursery to get the trees ordered. So that we can get that in, and then, of course, and then get them installed before they hydro seed, and then get the irrigation in before they hydro seed. So, it's urgent, I guess, in the sense that we didn't mean to have such urgency on this, but the calendar seemed to run fast this year.
What do you think,
So when are they planning on doing the irrigation? When can they?
Well, we would have to,
If we,
hire that out and have to coordinate it with FCI.
because if you're saying the irrigation has to be done before the trees, the hydro seeding and all that,
Right.
I guess I'm seeing if this isn't gonna happen, actually get started within the next 2 weeks, why we didn't just take a little bit of time to talk about the trees like Kyle would like.
Well, I think the issue was the linden trees, which was the two taller trees, so we're getting rid of that. That's, if I'm understanding Kyle right? That's
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
the two linden trees, which is the 30-foot, 35-foot tree height. The two bigger ones, the biggest, those are the two.
Yeah, I guess my main concern is whether they're tall or short. I think we need the leafy ones gotta go. They're a different option. You just need whether they're, that's just me, but
Dana, were you saying that you wanted pine trees all around the rink instead of anything else, just pine trees? Is that what you were agreeing to, or just?
Well, I think for sure they have to be the west, the northwest, because, it's where the wind blows most of the time.
Right, Tyler will clear the rink out and then we'll fill right back in the next
Yeah,
day.
so I mean, that's kind of what I'm asking, I guess. I don't know if it has to be all the way around.
Well, since we brought me up, if you do an irrigation system, you can hydro seed at any time, at any day during the warm months. It doesn't matter when you do that. As a maintenance thing, we gotta keep in mind, there's not a lot of room to put snow. So when we do get a big snow, we have to scrape it off with a bucket. We dump it outside of the containment. And then we gotta go around the containment and move that so that we can have parking and other things. So if you got a bunch of trees around there, my opinion, maintaining ice skating rinks for the last 8 years, my biggest issue at the Parks campground one was the leaves would land on it and they would just melt right down with the sun. So in my opinion, I would not put any tree next to an ice skating. I know we want to beautify the area, but you have a big property you can beautify. In my opinion, put some shrubs or something. It'll look good off the white background of the ice skating rink, but leave the trees and stuff along the way. You know, don't put trees next to an ice skating rink. You know, and that's just from a
So
maintenance
eliminate,
standpoint.
eliminate the flowering craft, the ones that go 12 feet, 15 feet maximum in height.
Just keep in mind snow removal. You know, because you got the garage doors on the south side, which is really tight. You got the power box that feeds the whole thing, which is right there. You got the heating shed right there. You got no room to put any snow, so you're gonna have to scrape the whole side. You're gonna tear all that stuff up doing it. And if they're little, they're not gonna grow. I love trees. You know, I've planted a lot of trees. I'm for all kinds of trees, but you just gotta think, you're not gonna get a tree that's gonna block wind for 15 years. I mean, unless, you know, in all realistic.
So if we have evergreen trees, now you've taken up 15 feet or so when it's mature of ground space, and then you blow snow on that, and then you break the branches on the tree. Whereas if you have a tree, you just have a trunk, which now gives you a lot of room to put stuff in that sense.
So what if we just seek approval for the irrigation tonight? Talk to SCI, see what their timeline is for hydro seeding. And then we come back at the next meeting with revised tree or shrub options.
Like if we're 37 minutes in, we're on line item 3 out of 15. We need to get going here.
So I guess looking at the irrigation quote, this is the roto heads, the 35 spray bars, the bubbler system, the drip lines, the whole kit and caboodle is $20,400.
No, 14,900. And then the drip line on the west side of the building is 900, so 15,800.
On the bottom, it says 2,000 without drip line is 2,000 with is 2,900.
Bubbler system on the trees without irrigation system is
The
$2,000.
bubbler system tree, that was an option, that was an add-on, the line above the $900. So that, I think that's the two that they were, you can disregard that one.
Okay, so what are we looking for? What's the cost?
15,800.
15,800.
Yes.
So I make a motion to approve 15,800 for irrigation for that.
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve the irrigation quote to Central Florida Sprinkler. Yeah, okay. Any discussion on that? We'll move to a vote.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Old business number 4, Rose Engineering. It's Mr. Mirabello on. Oh, he's presenting Kyle. Were you gonna cover this one? Or what was
I-
the deal here?
I can, I've been making a bunch of phone calls in regards to this. So I talked to, Gail Cox out of, Williston for Watford District in regards to the roundabout on Highway 40 and County Road 10. So they're looking direction from the city for either stop signs going on the east and westbound lanes of traffic. The north and southbound lanes of traffic would not have any restriction. Straight 45 miles an hour right through that intersection. So the deal is right now is the DOT, they ran traffic control stat numbers. And from when the boom was occurring till now, our numbers have dropped for flow of traffic through that intersection. So then temporary lights do not meet the parameters. So this is what DOT is saying, we either have to have the roundabout or stop signs. Those are the only two options. The lights, they're going no matter whether you like it or not. I talked to Barry Rambert today, and Williams County Board, they're staying out of it since the city owns that area. They are letting us make the final decision on that. July 25th, I believe it was when there was a public hearing down at the community center. They brought all the information regarding that, the cost and all that. DOT is putting the bill for everything out there. Tyler's not having to pay for anything. If for some reason, let's say we pick the stop sign option. And let's say a year down the road, 2 years down the road, we decide that it's unsafe, traffic needs to be controlled by a roundabout. We can ask DOT to revisit that issue again. And they will propose that issue and implement the roundabout at a later date. If we decide to go that route. But talking with a bunch of community members, I haven't heard very few people would want the roundabout. So that's kind of where we're at right now, is we have to pick either a roundabout or stop signs.
I move we go forward with the stop signs.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to go with alternative B, which is stop signs. Yep. Questions on that discussion?
I guess the one thing that, Mr. Cox did say that on the bottom, he did say that if we wanted the stop signs that light up around the edge, the flashing stop signs, that is an option as well. We just have to note that in the bottom. And then also too, that at a later date, if for safety reasons, we want to have the roundabout implemented, we just have to state that within our reasoning. So we need to add that as well.
That's the way it used to be, always a stop sign anyway.
Yeah, my beautiful child, that's how it was.
I don't take it as really an issue.
All right, is your motion still good? And the second still good?
Still good?
Okay, let's go to a vote.
Yes.
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 That motion carries. Was that it for roads? Was the private APS? I think for the same. Okay. Brandon, moving on. Old business number 5, softball field, Katie.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, so obviously I'm here for the softball field. I just wanted to, I guess, I didn't know you guys were working on it, which is nice to hear. Because last year when we had approved the community center, before the softball field was even gonna be touched, our softball field was supposed to be started. You look at the grass that we're gonna put in or hope to put in with the field that we designed on the committee, it takes a year to grow. So we're looking at 2 years right now before we can even get on that softball field. So the longer that it takes, the harder it is to get on the field and the harder my job becomes as a rec director. I don't know if you guys know much about it, but I have 4 softball teams, 3 t-ball teams, and 4 baseball teams that all play on these fields. And now we have 1 field. And so it's putting me in a bind. Hopefully, we're hoping the Legion will let us use their field for maybe some of the t-ball games and maybe some of the older teams, games. But I guess my biggest concern is like, can we get this going? You know, we do have a ton of like community that uses it and a ton of business it brings to our community. I don't know if any, I mean, Jane, you've been to some of the games. Like there's tons of people that come to town, they go to Cashwise, they go to the stores, you know, they shop it locally when they're here. They enjoy it, we enjoy it. And so right now being stuck with 1 field is really hard. And so that was just my biggest concern is what are we doing to move it forward? And how can I help in any way or what can we do?
Any background on, I mean, I've been calling random folks like, hey, did you know anything about the field in Tioga? Did you bid on anything? And yeah, we did, but it's been over a year since we've talked.
Right.
And it's like, well, Josh, you know, we started hitting you up when it was freezing cold. Nobody should be thinking of a softball field. And we're like, put it to you this way, that softball field is like tops of my priority.
Okay,
The best I can explain it is nobody's gonna remember making a 3-pointer at the community center expansion on a Saturday with their friends.
right, exactly, right.
If one of our girls, like I said earlier, goes yard against MLS, then
When they do.
they're gonna remember.
When they do, exactly, right.
forever.
Yeah, definitely.
So my whole thing is like sports were huge for me.
Right, yep,
And what we live for, and that might be a little different from a small town, but you remember that stuff forever.
yeah.
And not one of how many seniors do you have this year?
We have 3.
That's
So,
what I'm thinking. about.
yeah,
Like
it's-
you're robbing them of their
Then,
senior year.
and then our junior, and then potentially our sophomores if we don't get on it.
All I want is that softball field to get done, and it just baffles me that it wasn't part of the project in the first place. In my
Right.
mind,
Well, and we did meet, like Tyler was in on it, and we did before our last softball season, and Dan was on it, and Pat Alberts, and like we went from, can we do a turf field? Because, you know, I'm gonna push for the best for my girls, let's be honest. But can we do a turf field? Well, we couldn't figure that out because of floodplain, so then we designed, you know, these few options for what we could do and moving home plate, you know, this, that, and other thing, bullpens, all that. So I was like, heck yeah, all right, they're starting the community center, they're starting softball, they're taking our fence down, let's go. And then now it's just like nothing, you know, so that's just my biggest thing is like, not only for my high school girls, but like I said, I coach all 4 summer softball teams and I help out with the boys. I have a son that plays baseball, you know, and for the community, it's huge. And for the rec community, it's huge. I'm having to place games where baseball shouldn't be played, you know what I mean? So,
well, I got a contract today from Novak Landscape, and I've been asking them for weeks to send it to me, because I just want to know, like, who's working on this? Can we get it done?
yeah,
Interesting, it was signed or initial 6/17/24. Nobody knows who signed it.
okay,
It's initial, we don't know whose initials they are. We have a general cost breakdown, which is 387,000, which is a pickle for the competitive bidding process. But we're gonna jump through hurdles left and right, but we're gonna jump through every single one of them. to Get that field done.
Yeah.
Like, gotta get done.
awesome. I
It's supposed
appreciate
to
that.
get done.
Yeah, I know.
I even told you this, like, if the crawler gets through April 9th, we are breaking ground April. 10th. April doesn't help.
It doesn't, but it makes faster. As long as something's being done, that's the biggest thing. I don't wanna go till next year and then it's like, man, we're competing with Newtown at this point. You know, so that was my main thing. I just wanted to make sure there's some progress and if there's anything you need from me as the rec director or softball coach or any design elements, I know we had made a field with the bullpens and all that stuff. I don't know now that there's a new board, if that's what we're gonna go forward with.
That's what you guys want, like,
Yeah.
what you guys want, let's figure out how to do that.
I want a field that looks like the Legion field. Yep. I think the girls deserve it just as much as the boys do. And I know the Legion did say like, if we needed some money, like they'd have money that they'd potentially be willing to help a little bit. So, yeah, so,
Or you can do to help us, like, so we're just kind of coming into this, like, looking
Well,
around,
right.
like, what about the field?
well, yeah,
We're not,
yeah,
I'm kind of big on, if you get dealt a bad shape, there's no point in feeling like a victim of the whole thing, just move on.
Mhm.
And make it- So whatever you can do to help us, would be great.
yeah. Any questions you have, you guys let me know, but I am all on board with helping whatever you need. So we can get those girls back and little kids. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, we are on the new business, number 6, Sandberg letter of resignation. Tell you what, I'll just read it for you guys. I know you guys have all seen it. So, to whom it may concern, now that it's dated March 17th, 25. To whom it may concern, please accept this letter as formal notification that I'm resigning from my position as city commissioner for the city of Tioga effective April 7th, 2025. I have valued my time as a commissioner and appreciate the opportunities I have been given during my service to the city. I am particularly grateful for the collaboration of Chief Nelson and the dedicated members of the Tioga Police Department. The department's commitment to excellence and innovation is truly commendable, and I am proud to have contributed to its development. I extend my best wishes to the city of Tioga for its continued growth and prosperity. Sincerely, Jessica Sandberg Steele. So I'll need a motion to accept Commissioner Steele's resignation.
I make a motion to accept Jessica's resignation.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to accept Commissioner Jessica Steele's resignation. We'll just move to a vote.
Yes.
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 Okay, that motion carries. 7, the Rathenmeyer representation letter. Again, I hope you guys got a chance to look at that. There is something a little confusing and probably noteworthy on this. So essentially, they came in and they did an audit of our financial statements for our city. It was pretty much your lock, stock, barrel audit that we do every year from Rathenmeyer. I don't know if we need to do anything as far as accepting their findings or lack of findings. I will need approval to sign my portion of it. Jonathan, he signed hers before her departure. The noteworthy thing I'm saying here is it's dated April 25th, 2025. Got a number of weeks before it's April 25th, 2025. I don't know why it's forward dated like that. If we need to have them correct that before I sign it. But dealer's choice, you guys decide. It's a simple phone
You should
call.
probably double check with them and make sure that we're all good.
Okay, if everything's on the, well, either way. And I have them correct the date if a correction needs to be made, if they explain that the forward dating was with intent. You guys okay with me signing this thing and sending it back?
Yeah, I'll move that, once you check with them and verify, whether it's correct or not, that, you can move forward with signing it.
All right, how do we want to write that for minutes purposes? We just got a motion and a second to approve the representation letter.
Conditional approval, subject to the date inquiry, I think is how you'd style that in the minutes, Brett.
Fair enough, guys?
Yep.
Okay, we'll move to a vote.
Yes.
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 Okay, that motion carries. And Department of Water Resources, this is a de-audit letter. Second to pull it up here. All right, so what this was, once upon a time, we ran a feasibility study for the dam. And so there was an excess of remaining funds of $48,499.65. The feasibility study is completed. So what we needed to do was essentially write them a letter saying that we needed to de-audit those funds. Additionally, part of that letter is we needed to let them know that we haven't chosen an option yet. You know, we have two options for the dam. We have the, Josh, what was it, a slurry wall? Or, come on, yeah.
So as far as the dam goes, there's kind of two components. There's the hydraulic components, which is kind of, you know, how much water you're gonna pass, as well as the slope stability of the embankment. And that was the slurry wall or the buttress.
I don't know if this letter's actually been sent back to them. It was compiled and signed by Ronica, so I'll do a little homework on that. I'm assuming it's on the agenda to get our blessing to sign this back. The Department of Water Resources. So if that's the case, we can probably reflect ourselves with the motion. If you're okay with it?
I make a motion, we, send the obligation letter back to the feasible study, I guess, in the amount of $40,499.65.
I'll second that.
All right, we got a motion and a second to, Kyle, you're really tough on me with these long motions. Walking through that one more time.
Send a letter to the request for the deobligation. From the feasible study, I guess.
Tell you what we're gonna do. We have a motion and a second to send the deobligation letter back to the Department of Water Resources. Okay, we'll move to the vote.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Number 9, Crosby Journal. Stephen. Is it Stephen or is it something?
Let's see. Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, I don't want to take a lot of your time, but I was aware that you would be voting soon on the designation of your official newspaper. And I just wanted to extend the invitation to take a look at considering placing your legal notices in the Journal. The Journal is a newspaper that is very much like the Tioga Tribune you used to have. I think we also offer personal service. Some of the larger papers in the area or in the state, including the Williston Herald, use an operation called Column. And there's no personal contact. It's you just, put it online, you get a bill and that's it. And, we're still do things the old fashioned way. We give customer service. If there's ever any problems with the notices or questions about how they run, we can deal with those. When the Tribune did close, Ray elected to continue with us in the Journal. And so we have been serving their community and it's worked out, I think, really well. We do a little bit of news coverage for them. I would not promise Tioga news coverage because right now I have the same problem that we had when we had to close, and that is I have nobody to write. I would love to find somebody in Tioga who would want to submit stories. You have a fabulous photographer in town and probably others that I don't know who could submit pictures. And we would welcome those submissions and try to give you some coverage from what comes out of the community rather than us sending someone down. But in the long run, if we can get the staff, I would love to have someone covering Tioga again. And I just feel that a community newspaper like ours can do a better job of giving you some news in a newspaper. But as well, people would be able to read your minutes in a newspaper that is probably a better fit than perhaps the Williston Herald. So if there were any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
How many subscribers do you have? I'm not sure.
And for the Journal has 2,100 subscribers. Of course, most of them are concentrated in the north. We did retain a number of subscribers in this area. It's not a lot. Most of them are online subscribers, but they have access to the full e-edition that's just like the printed paper. If we were to do this, I would pursue trying to get some newsstand coverage back. I'm sure there are local businesses that would be happy to carry the paper here. We go right by here when we deliver. And so we could, drop those papers just like we used to do with the Tribune. So that you would actually, I don't even know if the Williston Herald I don't even know if they have a newsstand here. I don't think they do. Yeah, and I'm not trying to throw them under the bus, but I mean, we're familiar with your community. I think we have a way of serving you that isn't what you had before, but it could possibly work to be more as time goes on, especially if there's some people interested in the community in submitting pictures and stories through us.
What's the cost? Is it monthly?
An annual subscription is $61 this year, I believe. So what is the monthly cost?
For us to post our legal notices.
You pay, the state sets that rate. So every newspaper is certified with a certain font. So it's going to cost you basically the same amount, whether you print it in the Herald or if you print it in Crosby. I was concerned when we left, and I did, mention to the former auditor that it would be interesting to know how much you paid for legal notices in a year at the Herald versus what did you pay for the Tribune. I don't know if there's a difference. There's not supposed to be a difference, but it should be comparable. It certainly, I mean, I'd be surprised if we were more, and put it that way.
You guys think?
I think it sounds great. It sounds like maybe if the stars were aligned, there would be an opportunity to, be able to have some news out there, because that's a big deal to the people in this community. Losing the Tribune was, I mean, it's hard to know what's going on in the town if there's no outlet for that. So I think that sounds really good.
So Liz, what does that look like if we want to go this route?
Well, currently, you would have, Ms. Borman's totally right. There's the option. This is statutorily driven. So if there's not a paper that's like actually seated in town, you have the option of utilizing adjoining counties. The Journal is principled in Divide. Obviously, the Williston Herald is principled in Williams County, but not in Tioga. And so you basically have, two collateral newspapers. I think this evening you've kind of worked through findings. Jaden just discussed aspects of the potential of the Tribune. Brett, you vetted the issue of comparative costs, so you've done your financial due diligence there. Really, you would make a motion if you determine that it's appropriate, that I keep saying the Tribune, and I'm sorry, that's what I'm used to calling it. If you find that it's appropriate that the Journal be the official newspaper, then you would make a motion consistent with that determination this evening, and then you would direct me to prepare a resolution for May. And we would actually, we would sign the resolution making that effective on the date listed under statute. So there's a little bit of paperwork, but if that's the decision you reach tonight, I would want to hear a motion approving that decision and then directing me to prepare the appropriate resolution for signature and review by the board at the appropriate time per statute.
Okay, well, I would like to move that we start working towards the Journal being our official newspaper. And with that, Liz, if you'd like to start preparing a resolution paperwork for that, so it can be touched on at the appropriate time. I think that's
Perfect.
what we do.
I second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to work towards making the Crosby Journal our official newspaper. With an add-on of instructing Liz to prepare the resolution for such. Okay.
Yeah.
Move to the vote.
Yes.
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 And motion carries.
Thank you so much. And I'll just note, we don't call it the Crosby Journal, we call it the Journal. So you don't have to get that C word in there.
All right, new business number 10, Tioga Airport Authority Board Appointment, letter of interest. So, I'll do the same thing here. March 14th, 2025, Tioga City Commissioners. As commissioners, I would like to be considered for the recently vacated position on the Tioga Airport Authority Board. I have worked with the airport board for decades. I have 4 hangars with operating aircraft numbered at 17. I'm a commercial pilot flying now for nearly 50 years from Tioga. I'm also an aircraft mechanic, nearly 50 years experience operating Knudsen flying service, doing spraying and all aspects of air services. As a fixed base operator, I have worked closely with the airport management team to provide the best services we can for the flying public. As I have previous experience with local, state, and federal agencies, I feel I can help and strengthen all relationships that we have and shall acquire. Thank you, Wayne R. Knudsen. All right, do we have a motion?
I make a motion to reject this letter of interest from Mr. Newsom.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to reject the letter of interest for Wayne Knudsen. Any discussion? Okay, no discussion, we'll move to a vote.
Yes.
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 So that motion carries. All right, number 11, Johnson Controls, this is a proposal for the service agreement. Before we move on, we need to let the airport board president know that they need to re-advertise. So we need to make a formal motion on that, because I don't know if they have an expiration on that.
Well, I'll move that, that we let the Donovan Airport Authority know that they need to re-advertise.
Second.
Here we have a motion and a second to let the airport board know that they need to re-advertise for an open board seat. All right, we'll move to a vote.
Yes.
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 That motion carries. Do you want me to handle that?
Yes, please.
All right, number 11, Johnson Control. Oh, yes, this, okay. So every 5 years, we have to do an internal acceptance cycle on our fire suppression system. Kyle, if you remember, we talked about this a number of weeks ago, it actually might have been weeks ago now. But that quote is for $2,914.01. And again, that's to do the mandatory or required 5-year internal inspection.
Make a motion that we approve the quote from Johnson Control in the amount of $2,914.01.
Well, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the quote to Johnson Controls in the amount of $2,914.01. Any comments on that? Okay, we'll move to a vote.
Yes.
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 Okay, motion carried. Keith Nelson, I don't know if you need to help me out with this one or not. He's got police department interstate power systems quote. Before I might be able to handle it. Maybe.
Yeah, I'll let you try it.
All right, never mind, I need your help. They just servicing a generator?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So in essence, what they do is they come out, they like to try to come out once a year, kind of shaking it out and prolonged it maybe once every other year. It's basically gonna be annual maintenance. The biggest line item for this is going to be the load test that they do on it. So that's in essence what they're doing. So I guess it's only $200, but yeah, labor and driving and all of that. So this would be the oil change, checking the other fluid levels and doing the load test to ensure that everything's functioning properly. All right, so make it easy. We got a preventative maintenance quote from Interstate in the amount of $2,196.30. I make a motion, we approve this Interstate quote for $2,196.30.
Second.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second to approve the Interstate quote in the amount of $2,196.30.
Yes.
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 Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so we have our additions. We were not going to repeat our first couple weeks of the year. We're talking about Gopher everything again. Okay. All right, so I got a message asking if we would be opposed to letting a couple folks essentially wipe out Gophers with pellet guns. The things that you can. Give me a second to pull it up. Not just any old guys. I mean, these guys are trained and they're highly competent. Um, I've got a lot of respect for both of them. I don't think this is an issue, but at the same time, I'm not gonna give anybody a green light unless you guys decide. All right, so essentially, Joel Shaffett and Joshua Hedstrom would like permission to shoot gophers with a pellet rifle on city properties. Say they're less expensive than the guy that we have contracted for extermination and everything like that. So here's what I would like to do, if you guys are okay with that. A, give them permission in writing, make sure that when they're on the hunt, they have that permission letter with them. Coupled with meeting minutes. And this is a very one-off thing, this just because we give permission to a couple of guys, one's part of law enforcement, one's a game warden. Pretty sure we can trust them with pellet guns. We're not setting a precedent that anybody can just come in and ask for a letter of permission. Otherwise, I think we'd have about 2,000 people in town that want to be on the town. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that, but I did promise them to bring it up tonight.
I guess my question is location and what was talked about as far as ammunition.
No and no. Did not talk about location, it just says within city limits. Or city properties. Did not talk specific types of pellets.
Every,
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 5 years, down at the park, and me and Josh have had an agreement, which we need to get together this year and do the same, but Josh had asked me, when he took over, to call Williams County every year to make a memo drop-down box, because one time, I use a pellet gun too, but my pellet gun looks like a 30-06 rifle. And we got a call once, where you guys want to put the baseball field. I think that's gonna happen to the other two people that you're saying too.
We were worried about complaint calls.
Yeah, I mean, is that what you want me to do again this year, Josh? Just to
Yeah.
continue suit with that, so that, if something happens, there's a drop down memo. It used to be in the white trucks, but we don't have the white trucks anymore, we got the brown trucks. So that'll be a change for this year, but just if something did happen and somebody called, a memo had dropped down stating, you can still fly there and act like there's, a potential shooter, but there is a memo that drops down that says, for us, we got a G on our license plate, so you got the government license plate. We don't do a lot of shooting out of that anyways, but, because that was, it's a big issue at the park, and it's gonna be a huge issue this year at the park with the community center digging up to the home ground again. So I'm glad to see two more people can, but I guess to save me a trip to Josh, and that's still the go how we've been doing it. It was just a verbal,
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's up to.
so I guess,
it's.
would you write me a note too, or do you want me to just stop completely? Doing the same thing these two are asking to. If you do, could I get a note also? Being that I've been doing it for 5 years straight.
And shoot,
5 years with elevated.
I should have a permission note, right?
Yeah, it's getting brought up, probably like that.
Maybe these guys don't want it at all. I don't know. That's why we're talking about it tonight.
Well, so, if we're worried about, people calling in and, obviously last time we talked about gopher eradication, we were gonna have someone come in, and now there's also an option from him. So, I mean, we're probably gonna get the calls no matter what. This would probably be a lot more cost effective.
A lot more efficient.
And yeah, probably more efficient too, I agree. So,
Just want to throw my 2 cents in. Pellet rifles obviously don't fall under the firearms category. However, under Century Code, they do fall under dangerous weapons. Under that, there are certain areas where those are prohibited, the schools being one of those. So maybe just ensuring that in that documentation, any area that's outlined as prohibited under dangerous weapons would be off limits area, but also being that this is one of my officers that's wanting to do that, I have no issue with that, but under the understanding that he's operating independently from the Tioga Police Department, and that's not to occur while he's on shift working. And I don't foresee the issue with that, but I just want to make sure we have that clear.
He did say that this would be on personal time, of course.
Yep. And I just think yeah, it would be proper to outline that.
According, our ordinance in exploding firearms, it says it shall be unlawful for any person or persons to fire or discharge within the city limits any cannon, gun, pistol, or firearm of any description, or fire or explode any firecracker. Basically anything containing powder or combustible or explosive material.
Yeah, so the Century Code I'm citing is actually going to be a North Dakota Century Code. It's going to be outside of the city ordinance under dangerous weapons.
well, I would like to move that, those two and Tyler would be granted permission to, exterminate gophers with pellet guns on city property as long as it's not anywhere where dangerous weapons are prohibited. That way we're following Century Code.
I would second that.
All right, we got a motion and a second to give Joel Schrappett, Joshua Hedstrom, and Tyler Judkins permission to eradicate gophers for their Jaden's contingencies. Okay, we'll move to a vote.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Moving on to number 14, now I sprung this on you guys, so I do not expect you to make this first time. But basically, one of the things that I've been working on as of late is finding new efficiency. I'm not saying that we aren't all pretty efficient, but I think there's definitely room for it. Oh, I mean, essentially from what I've seen, based off of how I conduct my business at my full-time job, it feels like we're way behind, almost as if we're running City Hall since 1950, fizzle and stone, if you will. There's services out there that will make the payroll process extremely automated. They also cover like HR benefits. I would really, especially after today, make the new hire orientation a lot smoother and streamlined with actual employee portal where they can elect all their benefits, so they can, just like Kyle, you work for big oil and gas companies. Did you have an HR rep designated just to you, or did they say, here you go to this portal and it takes care of everything for you?
Little of both. It was pretty streamlined.
Yeah, I think we need to improve our onboarding processes. I think we need to streamline the payroll functions. There are a lot of companies out there that can do that for us, one of which is ADP. So they sent me a quote for everything I requested and then some. Oh, if you look through it, it's quite extensive of what they would be willing to do for us. The drawback is they're not used to working with small municipalities. They're used to doing this for like LA, Oakland, big cities in California. which has a perk because they typically start charging initiation fee or an implementation fee. That's $12,700 and then in a way that. So to do everything we want them to do, which also goes with. All in, the total cost is like $10,738 for the entire year. So that's an awfully small fee for what they're doing for us. Now, I will say I am not a ADP homer. I've used them before. I like them. They're great. I could see all of my everything all on the screen. I could put my time sheet in on the app. My timesheet would go to my boss. All he has to do is click a button and approve it. And then all of the reports are automatically generated. It takes to an error out of the equation. It will flag any discrepancies before it can go through the approval process. It would absolutely make a secret. But now back to me saying that I'm not an ADP owner. It's like buying a truck. There's gonna be Ford, Dodge, or whatever. There's a gazillion different companies out there that do this. ADP is just the one that got back to me like immediately. So I think the juice is definitely worth the squeeze on this. We could move forward, but at the same time, I would like to give Wendy the opportunity to do some system shopping. Just because I like it doesn't mean she's in all of it. I like it doesn't mean Jay wouldn't like it. But I would prefer to do something like that. Within the next month.
Let's make a decision in the next meeting.
Okay. I like that. Hey, number 15. All right, this one's another write-in. This is for advertising for a patrol officer. So my understanding is we're gonna lose a patrol officer in the maybe near or possibly distant future.
Within the next month or few.
Within the next month or few. So we know what's gonna happen. We want to get ahead of it and advertise for a backfill for that spot. There is a chance that we might find somebody, or Josh might find somebody, and we onboard them while the soon to be departing officer leaves. So we're gonna run over budget and salary for a brief period of time. I'm totally fine with that. I would rather we're staffed appropriately now. While we're bringing in a new person rather than just being shorthanded for weeks or whatever. We'll just need a motion to approve the advertisement.
And the officer is for sure leaving, like it's a sure deal.
Yeah, he's fairly certain.
Okay,
We've had multiple discussions.
okay. All right, well, I'd move that we, give the police department permission to advertise for a patrol officer.
I'll second that.
All right, we got a motion and a second for the police department to advertise. Oh,
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
all right, lastly, our consent agenda, we've got the bank pledge holdings for 3/21/25, pledge holdings for 3/27/25, payroll for 4/7/2025, January 25 financials and bank reconciliation. February 25 financials and bank reconciliation, March 25 financials and bank reconciliation, and then March 25 bills.
Make a motion to approve this consent agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Move to a vote.
Yes.
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 That motion carries, and I guess that's it for our scheduled agenda. So we need a motion to adjourn.
Anyone want?
I will, move that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn.
Yes.
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 The motion carries. We are adjourned around 8:25.
Thanks, guys.
Actually.